Hi, Coach.
Hey, how are you this morning, Mark?
Doing well, sir. Hope you are.
Doing real well, thank you.
Good, good. We're 1 past 11, so if you want to begin, and we'll grab questions after your opener.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome, everybody. We 12 days away from Syracuse, and excited about the opportunity to play. So the next 2 weeks will be totally about our preparation for game. We'll practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday like we will next week. Going into the opening game of the season, we'll take Friday as a walkthrough, and then we'll have a situation scrimmage this Saturday. So we're all about Syracuse as of today. We'll start working on them tomorrow on the field, but our coaches are working on their game plans as we speak now. Our scrimmage review from last week, we actually had our in-game production, so we had music that we feel like they'll be playing during the ball game. Our players voted on music last night at our rookie night to make sure that they had the music that they wanted in each situation during the ball game. It has been approved that we can have crowd noise, so we actually pumped in crowd noise during the scrimmage as well. It's very disappointing to me and our players that we will not be able to have fans at our games in September. And our fans have been unbelievable. 70% of our
Coach, I think you may have muted yourself. Somehow I'm seeing a
There we go. Can't have on the computer anymore.
There we are.
Where did I stop, Mark?
I think you were just going through something about 70% was the last number we heard.
It's really good stuff. I probably can't say it as good again as I did then, but I'll try my best. Jeremy heard it. So if we
I'm sure it was terrific.
It was terrific. 70% of our season ticket holders have either donated their money back or rolled their purchase over to 2021. That's an unbelievable number at a time where we are with our economy. So I applaud our fans. I apologize to you that you won't be at the games. We're going to have to bring our own energy, but we know our fans will be sitting at home screaming at the TV. So again, thank you for hanging in there, and thank you for continuing to support the athletic program and the football program. I love that. We also went back through our COVID guidelines during the game. It was helpful on Saturday night to see that game because we could see how the game worked and see how our practices are working to make sure that we were doing the things that they were doing. So we've told our players that during the game, you don't have to wear your mask. During the game, you don't have to wear your lower shield. But when you come off of the field, we're going to require you to either have a helmet on or we're going to require you to wear a mask at all times. And like Coach Longo's came off because he got excited and he was doing something. We got to get him another mask. And that's just something that we're going to have to look toward as we come through. And if we dress 120 people at home, they've extended the coach's box to 15-yard line to 15-yard line. But we're also having to try to figure out the guys that aren't going to play as much. Where do they stand? How do they social distance? And the other thing that was more difficult the other day was with that sideline scattered out so much, trying to make sure that you can do a good job with your substitution plan in special teams because guys are scattered out a lot more than they normally would. You've got masks on. It's harder to hear. We will not have crowd noise. So that is one thing that'll be a positive, but we're all having to look at making sure that our substitutions are staying and keeping attention, staying close enough, but social distancing. Our punters and kickers have been good, not great, and they're very, very talented. So we want to pick up in that area over the next 2 weeks. Our punt coverage and our kickoff coverage was really, really good. We did a lot more kicking game in the scrimmage. Our punt return was poor. We didn't do a good job of that last year, and we didn't do a very good job of that Saturday. So we'll work hard on our punt returns this week. Defensively, we're closer to 2 deep on defense than we are offense. You can put 2 defenses out there right now, and they don't look that much different. So that's really going to help us. And we can really run. We're a much faster defense than we were this time last year. So there aren't many guys that are playing that can't run at a high level. Our most improved position is definitely the secondary. It's deeper and faster than this time last year, and I'm really proud of Dre. Dre Bly's got our corners playing at a high level. So it's been really, really good for our wide receivers who are experienced and good to be competing against corners that are so good. So we're excited about them. The thing that we're not doing as well as we would like is pass rush. We would like to be able to get a pass rush with just 4 pass rushers instead of Jay Bateman, our defensive coordinator, having to bring a bunch of people, which makes us play a lot more man coverage and when we have to bring extra people. So we've got to do a better job of getting to the quarterback with 4 people up front. Offensively, we were much better on Saturday. I've really been pleased, and our coaches have been pleased with Garrett Walston. He's doing a really good job for us at tight end. He caught a big ball the other day or 2 or 3, but he also is blocking well. And guys on offense are playing well. But we don't have the same depth right now offensively that we do defensively. So in the next 14 days, we've got to find younger guys that can play at a high level. And I've said the recruiting class we had, I'd take all of them again. They're all talented. It'll just depend on which of those guys can step in and help us, especially since all these guys are back on offense and they know what to do. From the team itself, the eligibility rule is something that's really strange for coaches and for players, because basically all of our guys get to play this year and it doesn't count as a year technically. So you don't have redshirting, or you look at it another way, they're all redshirted, but they can play. So for a young offensive lineman like John Adorno, who's the backup center right now, he can play in 4 games, he can play in 6 games, he can play in all 11 games, and can still be a redshirted freshman. So it's really a unique situation for us. All of our seniors, if they decide that they don't want to go to the NFL or they can't get drafted at a high enough level, they can all come back and play next year. So it's very unique when you're looking at roster management, and so we're trying to sit down and talk to every young man on our team right now about his status for next year, and obviously some of them won't know that, but it's a different situation than it's ever been. And none of the freshmen are asking about how much will I play, can I redshirt, if I play 4 games on special teams, can I pull out then and redshirt? That's just not, it's not part of the formula that we've got. Syracuse, I was reading the other day, because we're just starting to work on them, even though it's a new game for us. So, but we felt like that in looking at them, they've got a new defensive coordinator. He came in from Arizona State. He's got multiple looks on defense. He blitzes a whole lot. They had 10 sacks and 4 interceptions in their scrimmage. So it's something that we've got to continue to look at. I like the fact that Coach Bateman blitzes a lot against our offense every day, because that will help us in preparation for the Syracuse game. Offensively, Dino Babers is one of the best offensive coaches in the country. I coached against him when he was at Texas A&M. I coached against him when he was at Baylor with the Art Briles system, and they'll wear you out. They go at a very high tempo, and that's why we're working so hard on too deep, because they can make your pass rushers wear out in the fourth quarter, and that's where they get you. And they've got 7 starters back on offense. And they also have a tremendous kicking game. Their kicker was 11 for 11 inside of 40 yards last year. Their punter was 3rd in the FBS with 43-yard average per punt. So we are excited about playing. We're excited about the game. Everything I feel right now is that we are going to play. I can't wait to see the games Thursday night, Saturday night again. It's exciting for college football to be back. And I could tell at rookie night last night, we have our newcomers. They all have to be in a skit or sing, and it's really ugly. They're awful. And we have to give the players 10 seconds for each act before they start booing them or throwing paper at them. So it was pretty ugly last night, but it was fun. And you can tell the guys are excited about a game and excited about something coming up in their future that's fun, because it's been a long time coming, but they can feel now that we're headed that way. So questions?
Okay, great. We will begin today with Andrea Adelson. Andrea, go ahead.
Hey, Mack, thanks for doing this. Want to just ask about how you go about scouting a team where you don't have a lot of time to prepare. It's a very condensed window, and what the most challenging aspect of that is.
Andrea, the biggest thing is opening games are difficult anyway. So you go back and try to figure out, did they change coaches? And in this case, they did. They've got a new defensive coordinator. So you have to go back and look at his past. And you look at games from last year at Arizona State and try to figure out if we think they're going to do the same thing. And then they only have 4 starters back from their defense. So you've got to try to figure out who's going to be playing. So there'll be a lot of game planning that will have to happen during the first quarter of this game, just simply because of the unknowns. And you go back and Dino's not going to change what he's doing on offense. It's who he is. That's what they've done. And they've got 7 starters back. So our defensive staff will have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Our offensive staff will not. And they'll have to just adjust as they're going. We've also talked to our team and our coaches that I think that could even come up that if someone cancels a game on Sunday, you might have a different game. So this year is just going to be different. It's going to be unique. And I've told our coaches and players, you want to play. So let's welcome everything that comes with it. And the only thing we're certain about is uncertainty. So just get ready for it, understand it, and don't gripe about it. Just move forward with it, and let's go.
Okay, we're going to move over to Mike Barber. Mike, go ahead.
Morning, Mac. I wanted to ask you, I know within a football team, position groups kind of cluster up. How concerned are you that with a COVID outbreak or with contact tracing, you could lose all your wide receivers for 2 weeks or all of your defensive backs? And do you do anything to spread them out?
Mike, it is a concern, and we've had some meetings on Zoom. We're also concerned with our coaches. Like when we go to Boston College in the 3rd week, we're not going to have any coaches sitting next to each other. They'll be sitting with someone that's had a positive, or they'll be by themselves. We're having to look at roommates. What does that mean? We're having to make sure that in our position groupings that there's no contact tracing issues. So we've really spread out. We're meeting all over the department. I mean, we've got our defensive, our safeties meet over where our team meeting room is at the other end of the stadium now. We haven't even been in our defensive meeting room. They meet downstairs in our in where our secondary used to meet. The offensive line meets in our Swafford auditorium, which is our team room. So we're spread out so much that we're just trying to make sure they understand that what contact tracing is, and that they need to wear their mask. And a lot of them don't like wearing their mask, but we're getting more used to it. I think it's more than normal for them now. So I don't feel myself saying near as much, spread out, put your mask on, man, pull up your mask, put it over your nose. Come on, man. This is what we're doing. This is just it. You can't take it down. So I do feel like they read, they hear. We're very transparent with our players. So every time that something happens where we read that a position group is out, we show it to them and say, here's what we're talking about now. We have a team meeting every morning that we practice at 6:30 in the morning, and their seats are way apart over in the blue zone, and it's all over the room. So it's just different. But I think that's what people are being aware of. We're also talking about cross training. They're going to test us on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if Friday afternoon before you get on the plane to go to Boston College, you get 3 players that are positive, you're going to have somebody to play in their place. So we're looking at how many guys can play so many different positions that if that one position grouping comes up, how can we get some more defensive linemen in there or play a different defense that has less?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to Ross Martin.
Hey, Coach, happy late birthday. Hope it was a nice one for you.
Thank you, Ross.
You mentioned, I guess the last time we talked to you about the offensive line and how you're having trouble developing some depth. You said you only had 6 that could really go now. Where does that stand now, and what needs to happen to get to 8? Can you give us a little breakdown of the offensive line right now?
We're still really pleased with our 6. They're playing well, but again, and you don't know when your game time is for Syracuse. You figure it's going to be hot. So you'd rather those guys not have to play 90 plays. So we feel like that Adorno's coming on. We've got a young walk-on named Kyrian Johnson, who's done a good job. He played nose some. He's played guard. He's played center. So he's kind of a yeoman inside to look at different positions. But I do think that's still the biggest question mark in the next 2 weeks is we want Jonathan Adorno, who played center the entire scrimmage for the white team. We want him to keep coming on and be ready to play. But we've got to get some other guys to step up and play. William Barnes has just been up and down with injuries. It's been a sore back. It's been a sore knee. So it's keeping him from doing what he needs to do. And the same with Ty Murray. Ty hadn't been in there, so he's been inconsistent. So we're just looking at trying to find another player or two, Ross. But really and truly, it's not much different than it was the last time I talked to you. It's a concern and something that we need to get fixed here in the next 2 weeks.
Is Adorno your backup center right now, or is he also playing guard? Where would he come in?
What we did is we have put Adorno at backup center, period. So he's going to play that position for the next 2 weeks. Quarian Johnson can also play it, so we can alternate in there. But those 2 guys would be our backup centers if we played today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Andrew Jones, you're up next.
Hey, Coach. Last time we talked to you, you said a couple things about Jace and Jacoby backing up Sam and that they were sort of in a neck-and-neck situation. Where does that stand right now? And how has Jace handled this, given that he's the oldest guy in the room, but he's been through so much, and now he finds himself maybe competing with a true freshman for that spot?
Well, Andrew, let's start with Jace. Jace has got tremendous faith. He's a great young person. He's a tremendous student. He's in our business school and can graduate in May. So he does everything right. And he's got a great attitude every day. And you pull for him because he has been through so much. Just the injuries have just mounted up for him. The fact that he gets this year back will help. And I think he's even going to try to get a year back from last year because he played very little as a freshman. He got that year as a redshirt. And then last year he plays, 7 plays or something before he gets hurt as well. So he's competing with Jacoby. Jacoby's a rookie. He didn't get to go through spring practice. So what we would do as of today, to answer your question, number one, they haven't separated from the last time we talked either. We hope they would. But right now, Phil would have a package for both of them that he feels like would be lend toward their abilities more than not. And then it would probably be different than Sam's. And then we would just play the one that we feel like's most ready to play in the Syracuse game. But right now, neither one of them would be ready to go in and step in the third series like we would like.
You mentioned Garrett Walston at the outset. How is Kamari Morales done behind him? And are you comfortable with what may happen if you have to go to somebody other than Garrett?
Yes, John Lilly's done a great job with our tight ends, and we talk personnel about every day. So we had a long personnel meeting yesterday, and I point blank asked him if Garrett comes out of the game, can Kamari go in and you feel very good about us not having a drop off? He said yes. So I do think Kamari's ready to go. There's no doubt that the experience of Garrett, his length, his ability to run and catch in space helps him. And at the same time, he's gotten much stronger and has a better chance to be a really good blocker inside. So I'm excited about that for him.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg Barnes, you are up next.
Hey, Mac, I know the emphasis for you this offseason has been building depth for a variety of reasons. Now that you're turning your attention to Syracuse, I know things kind of pare down when that happens. What type of emphasis are you putting on depth now, and how will that change for you?
Greg, over the next 2 weeks, what we've talked to the coaches about is let's start practicing the guys at a higher level that have hit it that time with my fingers. So Jeremy's got to get his mute button out of my way. We've talked to our guys about depth so much, and in each scrimmage, we tell our guys that you determine who plays and you determine how many plays you play. We do not. We sit and grade it, but you got to hustle. You've got to be successful. You got to whip the other guy. And all of our scrimmages have been the blues against the blues, the whites against the whites, and the grays against the grays. So we've had the best competition that we can have against each other because we feel like that will help them on game day. But we asked them yesterday, I asked them yesterday, let's make sure the next week that we're only working hard with the guys that are going to play. We're preparing for Syracuse. Everything is Syracuse. Now, we'll start working against Syracuse schemes. And obviously, your young ones are different because you keep working some of your young ones that may not play in the first game that may play in the fifth game. But we're not working in camp anymore. We are working for Syracuse and who plays and how many plays they're going to play. I've even asked the coaches to give me the number of plays today that you think each player at each position would play during the game and be ready to go, where there wouldn't be as big a drop off if the older or more experienced guy comes out.
And with regard to the scrimmage on Saturday, you mentioned that the secondary playing well. Who in the secondary stood out to you?
I think the Storm Duck is playing at such a high level. He would probably be the first guy that I would say. Kyler McMichael had a great scrimmage. Patrice Renee is coming back off his knee, and he was a little tentative when we first started. He's doing much better now. So, and then you look at DeAndre Hollins. I think we've got 4 corners that we could rotate during the ball game and feel really, really comfortable with that. And then you go back inside, all of the safeties are playing well. Cam Kelly, again, was a little slow at first because he's coming off of his knee operation and without spring practice, without a lot of the rehab time. They had to do things at home, so it's been a little slower, but he's full speed now. We're a better secondary when Miles Wolfick is in there because he's older and experienced, and he's one of the real leaders on this team, and he can tell everybody where to go and what to do. And he played some plays on Saturday, and we're so impressed with Trey Morrison. He's just all over the place, and again, he could play 6 places back there, but he played very, very well. Gio Biggers, I'm looking at our board as we sit here. Gio Biggers has done some good things. Jaquarius Conley is playing. He's in a limited role right now because he hadn't been here very long. And we moved Weldon Spotsville back there, and he's doing some good things at nickel as well. So we're deeper and stronger in the secondary than at any time we've been since I've been here.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, Max Olson, you're up next.
Good morning, Coach.
How are you?
Good. Wanted to ask you, as we get closer to kickoff here, we still don't have a lot of clarity on, how many players you need to be missing to trigger a postponement or rescheduled game. I'm just curious, what's your personal opinion on kind of where you hope that policy ends up in your own conference?
Max, what we've talked about as coaches, and I think even the administrators have talked some, is that should be a doctor's decision. At one point this summer we were talking about, is it like the NFL? Do you need 53? And I said, depends on which 53 it is. I mean, if If it's your best 53, you're good. If it's not, you're in trouble. So what I would say from my standpoint, and I think the large majority of our coaches would say, that would be a medical decision. If the doctor thinks it's not safe, it's not about winning and losing, but if the doctor thinks it's not safe, then we wouldn't play. But if we've got enough guys that are healthy enough to play it, and it doesn't matter who they are, and make the game safe, then we should play, even if we're at a true disadvantage that some of our best players aren't playing. That should not determine whether we play or not. We would wait, and our doctor would be the only one that would tell us that we couldn't play.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let's move over to Brennan Marks.
Hey, Mac. Hope you're well. And you mentioned the cross training. That's not the first time you've brought that up. And I know previously you had mentioned a guy like Chaz. You guys would potentially on a 2nd and long, 3rd and long, look at playing him at defensive end. I was looking, you mentioned the pass rush as well. How has he sort of evolved in that role? And are there other areas where you could potentially look to cross train a guy with those sort of athletic gifts?
Yeah, Brendan, he is one of our best players, if not the best player on our team. And because Eugene Asante is playing so much better behind him, that gives you a chance to put him in a pass rushing role. And guys like Tamon Fox played too much last year. So we felt like we hurt Tamon's productivity simply because he was out there every play, and it just wears you down, and you can't be as good in the 4th quarter if you're just worn out. So we do feel like we're looking at every possibility on our team right now to see who can play 2 or 3 places, and that's what we're doing in the offensive line. We're looking at that at receiver. We've got some receivers. We've really only got 4 experienced receivers. So we're trying to see if with Josh Downs, if he is the 4th receiver and someone gets hurt at a position other than slot, and he's playing slot, should he move outside? So we're looking at cross-training in a lot of different places just to make sure that we're covered if we get some injuries or somebody gets sick.
How has Chaz progressed in the limited work that you guys have been putting in at pass rusher?
Coaching is really, really important. Good players that are coached well are more important. And when you take a really fast, strong, athletic guy and put him over a tackle, you don't have to coach him as hard as you do some of the slower ones. So he's doing really well. You pat him on the back and say, "Good job, Chaz." Ooh, I like that, Chaz. Great, Chaz. Oh, good again, Chaz. So that's kind of what we've done with Chaz.
Perfect. Thank you.
Screw him up.
Okay, CL Brown, you are up next.
Hi, Coach. I was wondering, speaking about linebackers, if you could, taking Chaz and Jeremiah out of the equation, if you could kind of just go over who do you feel like is stepping up, especially at that outside linebacker position that Ross started most of the games last year.
Yeah, CL, we feel good at linebacker right now because Kadri Jackson and both Eugene Asante are playing well. Then the young ones they're young, but they're athletic and they're talented and they're moving on. Jeremiah Gimmel is playing at a really high level. He is playing better right now in practice than at any time he played last year. The outside linebacker position, we're excited about the young ones. Kamen Rucker and Desmond Evans played a whole lot on Saturday. AJ Beatty's coming on, but we feel like those other 2 young guys are going to play against Syracuse for sure. And then Chris Collins has made a lot of progress since last year. He redshirted last year. He's gained some weight. He's a big, tall guy that can rush the passer, and he was impressive the other day. So we do feel like between Tamon Fox and Tyrone Hopper and Chris Collins, the 3 older guys at that position, and then having these young pups come in with fresh legs, that we think that will help our pass rush.
And switching to the defensive line, how do you? Is it a matter of technique? How do you develop more of a pass rush at this stage? Is it about how they're coming off a ball? Is it about recognizing the offensive scheme more?
Yeah, I think a combination of all, CL. The most important thing is technique. and Tim Cross and Javon DeWitt have worked really, really hard on pass rush. We work on it every day in pass protection, and they're just trying to get better. The inside guys normally don't get there as much as the outside guys because you've got more help. You've usually got an extra guy with a center and the 2 guards in there to help each other. But the outside people, you've got to rush the passer well enough outside that the offense has to keep a tight end in or a running back in, and then that really hurts their scheme in the passing game downfield.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to Aaron Beard. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, Mac. When the school went to online-only classes for undergrads and a lot of students have since left campus, you kind of expressed from a purely sports standpoint that it might actually help you guys sort of bubble, I guess, for lack of a better word, your guys. Now that there's been some time, have you changed anything about what you guys are doing because there are fewer people on campus? Does it give you more optimism about lowering the risk and insulating guys from the virus anymore because there's fewer on campus?
Aaron, some people took my comment to say it was a knock against education, which anybody knows me, said I'm not going to knock education at the university level. But what we've done is tried to model ourselves after the NBA because they have done the best job of having a bubble and securing that bubble and making sure that they do not let the virus get in. And what we've seen is that football has not caused the virus because we haven't had any positives out of football. It's what you do outside of the bubble that affects you. So if you go to a restaurant, you've got a higher risk. If you go to a group of people inside, you've got a higher risk, whether it's church or whether it's a concert or whatever. So we've tried to educate our guys on if you wear your mask and if you'll stay away from people, and especially people without a mask, and if you wash your hands, you're at lower risk. And if they'll do that, then I think we're okay. And the biggest thing we've done, and it was that way with the classroom. I thought our classes were very safe. I think it was outside the classroom where students had gotten in trouble because I talked to our players. They were anxious about going to class. When they got to class, they said the classes were safe. So I don't think whether there's a bunch of students here or not, whether we're in the classroom or not matters as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do. And we've basically just told the players, if you want to play, then go by the guidelines. If you don't care, go to your parties and have your social life, but you're not going to play. And that's very simple. And it's not going to be the norm. It's not going to be the same. I don't go out of my house much. I come to the office, I'm around you guys, and I go back. And Sally and I are staying in a bubble as well. So we're all trying to make this thing work. And as of now, it is working. So, Aaron, we just want to keep doing what we're doing.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.
All right, Pat James, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, hope you're doing well. You guys had interest before you arrived, UNC did, in Ben Kiernan. But when you arrived, kind of his recruitment quickly accelerated. I guess just what do you remember initially hearing about him upon your arrival, and just kind of why was it so important to address that position so quickly?
Yes, Patrick, Ben is athletic, and you want an athletic punter because you watch the Austin P. Central Arkansas game, the first snaps on the ground, and it's a turnover. And as a coach, you're sitting there calling your special teams coach and texting your snapper and texting Ben saying, come on, man, we can't start the season like that. We can't start the game like that. But he's got tremendous ability. And he can punt the ball 60 yards in practice. And we've seen him do it 70 yards. And I think it's one of the reasons I would say good right now instead of great, because the expectation for him is so high because of the standard he set for us. So we expect him to do that every time. It's very hard to do, but he can also run to his right and rugby kick. He can normally punt. So he's just really a special player. And he's a guy that needs to be a weapon for us. We've got to get the ball on the other end of the field and make the offenses that we're playing go the long distance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move over to Alyssa Ray. Alyssa, you can go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how much different is practice this season as far as managing your second and third team reps, knowing that, you know, these guys might have to go in a different situation than in years past?
Alyssa, a lot. I mean, I've told the guys, you better coach every one of them. And some of those guys are the ones that you cross-train. And it'll be tougher on the road than it is at home because you'll have fewer players. But I've told our coaches there are no excuses and there's no gripes. You have to have your guys prepared. So if you lose 3 guys at one position, don't come and tell me, I can't believe this. I've lost 3 guys at one position. I can count. I want a plan. I want something in their place. So we've said no excuses and no regrets. You be prepared for whatever happens. We want to play. With playing this year is going to come some very unusual circumstances. So the teams that handle those unusual circumstances the best are going to be the ones that win. And that's what we've challenged ourselves to do.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Mark Armstrong, you are up next.
Hi, Mac. You put another video statement out this weekend, a very pointed statement. Why did you feel it was important that you do that?
Mark, Jeremy and I had talked about it. We were going to put one out before the season anyway, that we felt like represented our team and our staff. And then when the most recent incident came up, we had a lot of talks with our players, and some were very upset and very bothered. And then we had an hour-and-a-half conversation in our staff room one day. And these are guys that work together, and they're very comfortable with each other. And it was not the most comfortable conversation. There were a lot of things that were brought up that were sensitive and hard with each other. And I just felt like that I needed to ask all of them to help me because I haven't been the victim of racism. Help me represent them. And help me say what they would like to say because of the voice that I have. So I went to, we asked all of our players, talk about what you would want to say. Talk about what you would want to be in the video. We went to our coaching staff and said the same thing. And then we had them all read through the notes that we took, and we all felt like that this was the voice that we wanted to have. And really the voice was not about anything other than being fair to people. And it's not, people get bothered by Black Lives Matter and say, well, white lives matter too. Really and truly, when you look at it right now, this is about racial injustice to Black people. And that's why we need to make sure that we listen and learn. And I've learned so much from these guys, these players, about what they've put up with in their lives. And our bubble, again, is safe, and it's a cool environment where we laugh and cut up with each other, and we don't see race. And I've thought what an awful time in 2020 that we're still talking about how somebody looks, and we're better than that, and we're smarter than that. And I felt like it was time for me to say that for our team and for our staff. And I really feel like that after the fact, I'm so glad that it represented our team and staff and that they had so much input into it. And it was my words that wanted to say what they felt. And I feel the same way. I obviously wouldn't have said it unless I felt the same way. And even some of the players said, you're going to make some people mad. And I said, you know what? We need to make people listen. All we need to do is learn and listen. And if we're treating people more fairly because we learn and listen from those that are being treated unfairly, life's better. And it could be about any subject for someone who's not been treated properly. But that's the voice. And what I've tried to really do, and I've done a better job of it of late, is listen. So I'll just call players and ask them, what do you think? What's going on? Tell me. Tell me what you need. Tell me how you feel. And when a young guy says he's afraid to get in the car, he's afraid to walk, he's afraid to jog. When a parent tells you they're afraid that their child, they're afraid to let them drive, we're better than that. And we need to get that fixed. And that was my voice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, let's move over to Isaac Shade. Isaac, go ahead. Isaac, are you there, sir?
I didn't mute you, Isaac.
No.
Not me this
Okay.
time.
All right, well, we'll try to get back to you. We'll move over to JB Ricks. JB.
Hey, Coach, always a pleasure to see you, and thank you once again for taking out this time. I want to go back to your comments about you getting your team into game mode 2 weeks out from the actual game. Is there any different method to that compared to any other season that you would be preparing for, with the circumstances that we have going on? And the second part of that question is this is kind of like the last week where they'll have to really deal with the anxiety of, are we going to have a football season or not? Because next week you're obviously going to be in game week no matter what. What methods, what are the methods that you are using to, tail away from the anxiety that they're going to have to deal with this week before game week and the 2-week preparation?
JB, it's a great question. That it's been like a roller coaster for them and for us, all of us. And every day we're wondering, are we going to play? And should we play? And should we not play? And who's playing and who's not playing? And we felt like that it was really important to get them in a routine. So we want them in next week's routine this week. And we want them to understand that we're starting to get back into the norm, and our normal is preparing for a game. You still got your academics. Everybody's social life has been put on hold. So understand that. They had so much fun at rookie night last night, and I think it's about the only social life they've had. They got to interact and laugh and have some fun. It was so enjoyable to watch them. But we felt like that a lot of our team's young. Some of them haven't even traveled even at home before. And we're looking at how you handle the hotel, how do you handle the meals, how do you handle your spacing on game day for your meetings, how do you handle halftime, pregame, in your locker room. There's so many new things that are going to be different. We tried the best of our ability to have a regular game scrimmage on Saturday with the music, with the crowd noise, so they could start understanding how weird it's going to be without fans. And now this week, we want to go a step further and do everything, prepare everything for this week that we will be doing next week to get ready for Syracuse. So it's simply, athletes and coaches are creatures of routine and habit, and it's simply trying to get them to be doing the same things for 2 weeks in a row, so it will not feel awkward when we get ready to play in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're gonna go back to Isaac, and I think, Isaac, you're gonna close us out today, so go ahead.
Very good. Sorry about that, Coach, earlier.
All right, Isaac, I've done it 3 times. So
Hey, good. I'm just trying to make you feel better, you know?
Yeah, hey, that was so nice of you, and I didn't.
Hey, first, just wanted to personally thank you for your role in the social injustice stuff. I know that very personally, I've been so thankful for you lending your voice to that. So just as an aside.
Thank you, Isaac. It's we have to be very careful that anything outside of football doesn't disrupt our team.
Sure.
But I felt very strongly about this cause, and some people think it's political. I haven't got a political bone in my body. It's what's right.
Yes, sir.
Build our program on being fair and being consistent and doing what's right.
Yes, sir.
That's all I'm asking. I'm asking everybody that feels differently, stop, take a deep breath, and listen, and try to learn from it, and see if you would feel comfortable if that was your son. And so I appreciate you saying that.
Sir. My question is, I wanted to go back to Chaz for just a second, if I may. I was curious if you've noticed any outside factors affecting him. Specifically, I'm thinking about Sage opting out for the year, And with the higher expectations of NFL possibilities and things like that, do you see any of that affecting him personally or his performance?
Isaac, again, we're very direct with our players. We've had conversation after conversation with Chaz to make sure he's comfortable. If he wants to opt out this year because he's got a chance to be a top NFL draft choice, we've told him we got it. That's fine. I really think that his thoughts are more that he's only played 1 year of linebacker. He needs to play more, and he'd like to be a first pick if they've got him rated as a second pick. And he loves this team, and he thinks we have a chance to be good. But if like all the other players, if he walked in this afternoon and said, Coach, I think with my NFL career out there, I'm going to opt out, we'd say, we're disappointed because we're going to miss you. But anything you need from us, we'll get it and move forward. But he's been very honest with us. His family's been very honest with us, and we've just told all of our guys this whole thing is so unique and so weird. What you want to do, and tell us what you want to tell us. And any of you that don't want to play, if it's today and somebody comes in and says they don't want to play, it's kind of like we were talking about. Alyssa and I were talking about with the backups. Somebody else step up. Just another chance for you to play. So, but I'm proud of him that he's practiced the same. He's worked really hard. He's in great shape. You would not realize in being around him or watching. He's very quiet, but being around him and watching him, you would not realize that he's got a chance to be a top pro prospect.
Very good. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks so much for your time again today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Stay